Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too.
I've always believed that the scariest moments in life don't announce themselves. I always tell people that the worst decisions I ever made weren't made on purpose. They happened in those tiny moments where exhaustion and emotion mix together and make you believe something stupid is actually reasonable. And that's exactly what happened to me the Black Friday morning when everything went wrong. My name is Janessa Rowan, though most people call me Ness. Back in 2007, I was 28, a single mom trying to raise my 9-year-old daughter Lila and 5-year-old son Drew in a small town called Hawthorne Ridge, a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. I worked long shifts as a server at a bar and grill called Jack's Tavern, and if I'm being honest, money was tight, always tight. But that year, there was one thing my kids wouldn't stop talking about: the Novasphere gaming console. It was the hottest Christmas item, crazily overpriced, but that Black Friday, Price King Superstore, our local big box place, was offering it for almost half off. I'd saved for months, literally months, skipped lunches at work, sold some old jewelry, put away every tip I could spare. I didn't tell my kids, of course. I wanted to surprise them, and I remember thinking, if I can get that console, this Christmas is going to be the first time in years I don't feel like I failed them. That was the whole reason I woke up at 3:40 a.m., before even the cold had fully settled into the bones of the night. I was at my mom's house that Thanksgiving, like we did every year. Mom was asleep on the couch with the TV still glowing softly. The kids were asleep in their sleeping bags in the living room. Everything smelled like leftover turkey and cinnamon pie. I remember standing in the kitchen, zipping up my jacket, and whispering to myself, "Just get it done, Ness. In and out. No big deal." I didn't want to wake anyone, but my mom stirred anyway, half opening her eyes. "Going already?" she mumbled. "Yeah," I whispered. "Price King opens at 5. My mom sat up, rubbing her forehead. "You sure you don't want me to go with you?" She asked every year, and every year I said the same thing. "I'll be fine. This year it's just one thing I need." Mom frowned slightly, that instinctive mother worry look. "Just be careful. People go nuts on Black Friday. Don't get pushed around." I forced a smile. "I'll be okay. Promise." I left her house around 4:10 a.m. The air was freezing, the kind that bites your cheeks instantly. The sky was black and empty. Hawthorne Ridge is quiet even during the day, but at that hour, the whole world felt frozen still. As soon as I pulled onto Ridgeway Drive, though, everything changed. The line, the parking lot, the crowd. It was chaos. Thousands of people, headlights flashing, cars trying to squeeze into any available spot. I muttered under my breath, "Damn, this is worse than last year." I parked all the way near the back, where the lights flickered and didn't quite reach the far edge of the pavement. I wrapped my scarf around my neck and jogged toward the crowd forming near the sliding glass doors. A woman near me, maybe in her 40s with red hair and a giant coffee, looked over and shook her head. "Every damn year," she said, laughing. "You'd think we'd learn." I chuckled. "You here for the Novasphere too?" "Yep, my twins won't shut up about it." "Same here." "Good luck," she said. "We'll need it." When the doors finally slid open at exactly 5 a.m., the crowd surged forward like a wave. People cheered, screamed, ran like their lives depended on it. A guy behind me shouted, "Move, move, let's go." Inside, it was a storm. Carts rattling, people yelling, employees shouting instructions nobody followed. The electronics department was straight through the store and to the left. I knew the layout by heart, but when I got there, it was too late. Completely cleared out. I froze for a moment, heart dropping like a stone. "No, no, no, come on," I muttered, moving through the aisles. I looked behind every display, Asked two employees, both overwhelmed. Finally, a teenager in a Price King vest looked at me apologetically and said, "Yeah, sorry ma'am. Those went in like 7 seconds. We're cleaned out." "Are you getting more?" "Not today." My chest got tight. "You're sure?" He nodded. "Positive." I thanked him, barely held back tears, and walked out of the department, trying not to break down. I could already hear my kids' disappointment in my head. On the way back to my car, the air felt colder, like the morning had teeth. That's when I saw him. A tall guy leaning beside a large dark blue Chevy Suburban, trunk open, several boxes and electronics inside. He had a bulky jacket, shaved head, and a trimmed beard. Looked mid-30s, strong. There were two people talking to him, but no crowd. I slowed automatically. I don't know why. I guess when you want something badly enough, hope becomes a stupid magnet. He noticed me and gave a friendly nod. "Morning," he said with a small smile. "Morning," I replied, keeping distance. "You're, selling stuff out here?" He shrugged in a casual, almost harmless way. "Yeah, got a shop downtown. Bought a bunch of stock before the rush. Been helping folks all morning." I peered into the trunk. He had headphones, speakers, some tablets, nothing too crazy. Then I saw them. 3 Novasphere console boxes. My heart jumped. "You have those?" I asked, voice almost cracking. He grinned. "Got a few left, way cheaper than inside." I hesitated. It still felt weird. So I asked, "Can I buy one now?" He lifted both hands slightly. "Wish you could, but those are display boxes. I keep the real units locked up at my shop. Don't want to risk people grabbing stuff and sprinting, you know?" I swallowed. "Where's your shop?" "Just down Riverbend Road. 5 minutes tops, real quick." "Can I follow you in my car?" He shook his head. "Riverbend gets clogged on Black Friday. You'll lose me in traffic, but I can take you, no issue. I'll bring you right back here." That should have been the moment I said no. That should have been the moment I walked away. But my brain was tired, emotional, and desperate. I told myself, he seems normal, he's being helpful. It's just 5 minutes. You need this for your kids. And before I had time to rethink it, he opened the passenger door. "Hop in, and we'll be back before the crowd even thins." And I, like an idiot, got in. At first, it was normal. He asked, "So you got kids?" "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile. "2. They've been wanting that console forever." He nodded. "Good mom. I see a lot of parents who don't even try." I felt a weird warmth at the compliment, something that made me lower my guard even more. But after 2 minutes, the road got quieter, then darker, then unfamiliar, and my fingers curled tighter around the fabric of my jacket. I checked the time, 5:32 a.m. "So, your shop's close?" I asked lightly. "Yep," he said without looking at me. We drove in silence for another few minutes. He turned down a long, rural stretch of road, no houses, no lights, just woods. Something twisted in my stomach. "Are we almost there?" I asked again, trying to sound casual. He exhaled through his nose like he was annoyed. "Yeah, I said that already." His tone had changed. Harder, shorter. I went very still. My mind whispered, something is wrong, but I didn't speak again. We drove for another 10 minutes. My heartbeat grew loud in my ears. I quietly tested the door handle, unlocked. Thank God. Eventually, we reached a stoplight, one of those lonely intersections where the signal seems pointless because no one lives out there. We slowed to a stop, and I realized this is my only chance. My pulse roared. I grabbed the door handle. The man snapped his head at me. "The hell are you doing?" But it was too late. I shoved the door open and ran. Full sprint. Didn't look back. Didn't breathe. I ran until my lungs burned and my vision blurred. I saw a gas station up ahead, small, dingy, but lit. I sprinted toward it like it was the only thing keeping me alive. I burst inside, shaking, sobbing, collapsing onto the counter. The cashier, an older man with glasses, jolted. "Whoa, ma'am, you okay?" I couldn't speak. I just handed him my phone. "Call my mom," I whispered. My parents picked me up 20 minutes later. My mom hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. "Oh my God, Ness, what happened?" I told them everything. My dad clenched his jaw, staring out at the dark road. "That guy could have taken you anywhere," he muttered. My mom kept whispering, Thank God you got out." We filed a police report, but nothing ever came of it. No security cameras caught his plate. No one knew the Suburban. No witnesses recognized him. It was like he'd vanished. And the scariest thing wasn't the ride. It was the thought of what could have happened if the light hadn't turned red. If the door had been locked. If he'd grabbed me when I tried to run. I don't go out on Black Friday anymore. I don't even joke about it. And every time I drive past Riverbend Road, I still get chills. My kids got their Christmas that year, thanks to my parents helping me buy the console at full price. They were happy. I was safe. And I learned something important. Horror isn't always in haunted houses or shadows. Sometimes it's just a normal morning where you trust the wrong stranger. I still remember the exact way the cold morning air felt against my face that day. The way it stung a little. The way it carried that faint smell of frost and car exhaust. Even now, years later, just thinking about it sends a chill down my spine. Back then, I was in my mid-20s, working at a big clothing store inside a mall on the north side of Riverton, Illinois. The store wasn't fancy or anything, just one of those huge retail chain stores with loud music, bright lights, and endless racks of sweaters. My name is Lena Brookfield, and no matter how many places I've worked since then, nothing, and I mean nothing, has ever matched the sheer madness of Black Friday at that store. But one particular year, it turned into something way beyond busy retail day. It became the kind of memory your brain desperately tries to bury, but never quite manages to. Back then, I lived with my older sister, Janelle, and my 10-year-old niece, Harper. Money was tight, so I picked up every hour I could. Black Friday usually meant mandatory overtime, but at least we got time and a half. I needed it. Rent, groceries, helping my sister with Harper's school fees. It was a lot. So even though I dreaded Black Friday, I always said yes. That year, our manager, Mr. Callahan, had us scheduled for a brutal shift, 3:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., 12 full hours. I barely slept the night before. When I got to the mall, the parking lot was already packed. Just waves of people lined up outside. A few folks were wrapped in blankets, some drinking coffee, some arguing loudly about who cut the line. Jesus, people really out here trying to fight over hoodies, one of my co-workers, Risa, muttered as we walked inside. She was one of the few people at work I actually liked. Short, loud, funny, and brutally honest. Inside, the store was already buzzing. Corporate decorations hung from the ceiling, huge banners screaming doorbusters and limited time in obnoxiously bold fonts. The speakers blasted some cheerful pop remix that already made my head hurt. Callahan gave everyone the usual, "Let's have a great day, team," speech, which none of us believed for even half a second. When the doors opened at 6 a.m., customers poured in like a tidal wave. You'd swear free gold bars were being handed out. People were shoving carts, arguing over shirts, grabbing handfuls of socks like they thought the world was ending. I started off working the registers because 2 people had called out sick, which, let's be real, meant they didn't want to deal with the madness. I had a line of customers stretching halfway to the men's jackets section. People were already frustrated, already impatient. "Ma'am, do you guys price match?" "No, ma'am, I'm sorry. That's ridiculous." "Sir, your card declined. That machine is wrong." "Miss, can I get a bag?" "Miss, can I get a discount?" "Miss, can I speak to your manager?" It went on, for hours. By the time someone relieved me, my throat was dry, my back was killing me, and my brain felt like static. But even with all that, I had no clue how much worse the day was about to get. After leaving the registers, Callahan sent me toward the winter gear section, coats, scarves, gloves. That area was in the far back of the store, quieter, dimmer, with wider aisles. Honestly, I was relieved. It felt like stepping away from a hurricane. I started straightening a messy table of fleece gloves when I noticed someone. A man, tall, broad shoulders, wearing an oversized army green jacket. At first, nothing seemed odd. He was just looking at the winter hats. But then, very casually, too casually, he picked up a black balaclava, tugged it over his head, and didn't take it off. At first, I assumed he was just trying it on. Some customers do weird stuff. But then I heard it, the faint rip of a price tag being torn off. He didn't try to hide it either. He just stood there for a second, breathing through the fabric, like he was adjusting to it. His chest rose and fell a little too fast, like he was worked up, or preparing himself. Something in me froze. Not fear exactly, but that instinctive, something's wrong alarm your body sounds before your brain catches up. I didn't approach him. Hell no. Retail workers know better than to go play hero. So I pretended to stay busy with the display until he wandered off. Maybe he left, I thought. Maybe he was just some weirdo. A few minutes passed, then Callahan came over the walkie. "Lena, go take your break. It's 10:30. I wasn't even hungry, but I needed to sit." The break room was in the back hallway behind the customer service counter. The halls back there always smelled a little musty, like old cardboard and stale coffee. When I pushed open the break room door, there were already 3 people inside. Tori, Evan, and some seasonal hire I didn't really know. Nobody was talking. Everyone looked half dead. I sat at a small table near the front of the room, rubbing my temples, just trying to breathe for a second. 5 minutes later, the door swung open. I didn't look up right away, but then I heard gasps and footsteps, heavy, purposeful footsteps. I lifted my head. It was him, the man in the balaclava, still wearing it, still breathing through it. The room went silent, the kind of silence where you almost feel the pressure in your ears. The man's voice came out low, shaky, but loud enough to echo. "Someone take me to the safe, right now." Everyone froze. No screams, no movement, just stunned fear. For a split second, I thought maybe this was some terrible prank, but the man wasn't joking. His hands were balled into fists, his shoulders tense, his stance wide. No one answered. 10 seconds passed, then another. His voice rose, rougher. "I said take me to the damn safe." Behind me, Evan stuttered. "Well, we don't know where it is, man." The guy snapped his head toward him. "Bullshit. Somebody in here knows where the money's kept." "Nobody here's a manager," Tori said quietly. He scanned the room, and his eyes landed on me. I should have looked away. I should have kept still. But our eyes met for half a second, and that was enough. He marched toward me, grabbed my wrist, and yanked me up so fast my chair nearly tipped. You're taking me back there." I don't know where anything is," I blurted out, my voice cracking. "Don't lie to me," he growled. "I've been watching back here. I know someone in this room knows." He was wrong. I didn't know a damn thing about the safe. I wasn't a manager. I wasn't even a supervisor. I was just some underpaid retail worker who wanted her check and wanted to go home. He dragged me out of the break room, down the hallway, gripping my arm so tightly his fingers dug in. I felt my knees shaking. "Tell me where it is," he shouted. "I don't know," I yelled back, tears already burning in my eyes. "Please, I swear I don't know anything about a safe." He stopped walking, chest heaving, and leaned close. "You think I'm stupid?" "No," I whispered, "I just don't know." His breathing got heavier, panicked almost, like he was losing his nerve. "Maybe it's at the front," I said. "I don't know. I've never—" "You're trying to trick me," he snapped. "I'm not. Why would I trick you? You're the one holding on to me, man. Please, I'm not trying anything." He looked around wildly, muttering to himself. I could hear the tremble in his breath. He wasn't confident. He wasn't calm. He was unraveling. "This was supposed to be easy," he whispered. "In and out. Someone always knows. Someone always knows." He kept pulling me through random supply rooms, pushing open doors that led nowhere. Stock closets, coat racks, employee lockers. No safe, no manager office, just cluttered storage. Every minute felt like 5. The more hopeless it looked, the more frantic he became. His grip tightened. His breaths grew harsher. He was sweating under the mask. Finally, after what felt like forever, he spotted a metal exit door at the end of a narrow hallway. The red glow of the exit sign lit the walls in a weird, eerie shade. He let out a frustrated growl, shoved me aside, and sprinted. He slammed the bar, the door burst open, and freezing air rushed in. Beyond it was the back alley, the employee loading zone nobody used on Black Friday. He disappeared into the cold morning light. The door swung shut. Silence. My legs gave out, and I collapsed to the floor, shaking so hard my teeth chattered. After maybe 5 seconds of trying to breathe, I forced myself up and ran back to the break room. He left, I gasped out. "Call 911. He tried. We already did," Tori said, rushing toward me. "Sit down. Are you okay? You're bleeding. Your arm." I hadn't even realized his nails had broken my skin. Within minutes, the entire store was shut down. Shoppers were escorted out. Police flooded the back hallways. EMTs checked me out while officers peppered me with questions. They caught the guy 2 hours later hiding behind a dumpster on the far end of the mall parking lot. He had no gun, just a small knife. Enough to scare, enough to threaten, enough to leave scars I still feel when November rolls around. Callahan sent me home early. With pay, he added, like it was some incredible favor. The store reopened an hour later. Black Friday doesn't stop for anyone, not even terrified employees. For weeks afterward, I had nightmares about big winter coats, heavy footsteps, the sound of a price tag ripping. And even now, whenever I walk into a store and see a display of balaclavas, my stomach twists into a knot. People think retail horror stories are just about rude customers or long lines. They don't know how close those back rooms can feel to a trap. They don't understand how scary it is when the chaos of Black Friday mixes with the wrong kind of person. But I do. I lived it, and I'll never forget it. I never expected Black Friday to become the night I'd look over my shoulder for years afterward. I remember that time of my life so clearly because everything felt like it was finally clicking for me. I had just turned 26. I had just gotten promoted at work. Nothing insane, but enough to make me feel like I was finally climbing out of the hole I'd been stuck in since college ended. The kind of finally things are turning around moment you don't realize is the peak until something terrifying happens after it. I'd been living in Harbor Ridge, a quiet town in northern Illinois where the biggest attraction was a mall with a food court that always smelled like wet carpet. I lived in a small apartment on Walnut Drive, 2nd floor, facing the lot. The building was kind of old, but it had charm, the type where the wooden railings shake if you lean too hard. But it was mine. And that year, 2008, I had saved enough to finally upgrade everything I had been dragging along since high school. My TV that flickered, my laptop with a battery life of 11 minutes, my speakers that static buzzed if you breathed on them wrong. I was done with all that. I was ready for something new. And honestly, I was excited, like a kid again. My best friend Tavian was the same way. We'd known each other since middle school. though he had moved to Chicago for work a few years back. But he drove down just to go Black Friday shopping with me. He'd just moved into a new apartment of his own and needed pretty much everything. We joked that between the two of us, we'd walk out of the store looking like we robbed the place. Back then, Best Buy was the place. Before online deals took over, people camped out like they were waiting for concert tickets. And that year, we decided we were going to be two of those people. "I still can't believe we're actually doing this," Tavian said, as we pulled into the Best Buy parking lot around 7 p.m. Thanksgiving evening. His voice always had that half-amused, half-exhausted tone, like he was perpetually making fun of the world. I laughed. "Bro, this is tradition. This is like American culture. You can't be a grown man until you freeze your ass off waiting for a TV." "Yeah, okay," he snorted. "Let's hope we don't lose toes." We hopped out, bundled up in hoodies, jackets, gloves, the whole Midwest survival package. I'd brought a two-person tent, sleeping bags, hand warmers, and a thermos of my mom's Thanksgiving leftover coffee, which tasted like someone heated up sadness in a microwave. There were already people lined up, maybe 20, maybe 30, tents, fold-out chairs, a couple families, a guy grilling hot dogs on a little tailgate grill. Someone had a speaker playing classic rock. A woman walked past carrying a stack of blankets and muttered, "Y'all better be worth this," to her husband. It was fun, lighthearted, exactly the vibe I'd hoped for. We set up our tent in a spot about halfway down the line. People around us were friendly, talking about what deals they wanted. I remember the man behind us, this short older guy named Hollis, who kept saying, "I'm telling you, these doorbusters gonna turn civilized folks into animals." Tavian elbowed me. "If I see one grandma sprinting for a microwave, I'm recording it." Everything felt normal, safe. We talked with the group around us for hours, shared coffee, shared jokes. People came and went to their cars. Every now and then someone shouted from the parking lot, "Hey, anyone selling their spot?" And the line would yell no in perfect unison. Around 10 p.m., the cold settled in harder. Our breath looked like smoke signals. The crowd quieted down. People zipped up tents. Some tried sleeping in their camping chairs. Inside our tent, the small battery lantern cast a warm glow. Tavian curled up in his sleeping bag, scrolling through his phone. "You good?" I asked. "Yeah," he mumbled. "Just cold." "Same?" He put the phone down. "Hey, you ever think about how this'll be one of those memories we talk about when we're older? Like the stupid shit we did in our 20s? I grinned. "Yeah, and it'll be worth it." He nodded. "Hell yeah." Within minutes, he was asleep. And eventually, so was I. I didn't expect to be awakened by the sound of someone unzipping our tent. I don't know what time it was exactly. Somewhere deep into the night. Maybe 2 or 3 a.m. That hour when everything feels quieter and darker than it should. Something tugged at the zipper of our tent door. Slow, deliberate. I blinked awake, confused at first. I thought maybe Tavian was getting up, but he was next to me, breathing slow, completely knocked out. That's when the zipper fully opened. A cold blast of air slipped in, and I saw him. A man crouched in the opening, his face partially shadowed by a blue hoodie, his beard uneven, patchy like he shaved only when he remembered. His eyes, wide, unblinking, locked onto mine instantly. For a moment I didn't react. I just stared back. He didn't say anything, didn't move, didn't blink, just watched me, like he was studying my face, like he'd been waiting. My chest tightened. Hey man, can I help you?" I whispered, trying not to wake Tavian yet. No response, just that stare. It lasted maybe 3 seconds, maybe 10. Then suddenly, he ducked back, zipped the tent shut from the outside, and his footsteps crunched away on the pavement. My pulse hammered. "Yo," I whispered harshly, shaking Tavian's shoulder. "Wake up, dude, wake up," he groaned. "What?" Someone opened the tent, some dude in a blue hoodie. He sat up fast. What? What do you mean someone opened the tent? He looked in, then left. Are you serious? Yes, I'm serious. We both crawled to the entrance, unzipped it slightly, and peeked out. No one. The line was quiet. A few people moved inside their tents, but the lot was mostly still. Maybe he thought this was someone else's tent, Tavian whispered. He stared at me. Tavian frowned. That's weird as hell. We talked quietly for a minute, but eventually there was nothing else to do. We zipped up again, stayed alert, but try as I might, I eventually drifted back to sleep. We woke at 4 a.m. to the alarm. The adrenaline from earlier had faded just enough that I convinced myself it wasn't that big of a deal, just some weird guy. At 5 a.m., the store opened. People rushed in, but I wasn't prepared to see him again. The store Best Buy at opening was absolute chaos. Carts rattling, employees trying to direct traffic, speakers blasting announcements, people sprinting to grab whatever was on sale. Tavian elbowed me. Let's hit laptops first. We weaved through the crowd, but 20 minutes in, I froze. There, near the front of the store, the blue hoodie, the same man, standing still among the moving crowd, like he wasn't shopping at all, like he wasn't there for deals or electronics, just standing. His eyes scanned the store lazily, then landed on me. I immediately looked away. Bro, I whispered, he's here. Tavian followed my glance. His eyebrows shot up. No way. It's him. What the hell? I forced myself to focus on shopping. We grabbed the deals we came for, checked out, got everything loaded into my car. But the whole time, my skin felt electric, like I was being watched. When we left the store around 6 a.m., I tried to spot him in the parking lot, but he was gone. The day went on, Target, Walmart, the mall. But my nerves stayed weird, like I couldn't shake that face, that stare. By the time I got home around 3 p.m., I was exhausted. I dropped Tavian off and went back to my apartment. I slept for hours. When I woke, it was already past 10 p.m. I set up my new TV, my new laptop, made some leftover turkey sandwiches, and tried to unwind. My blinds were open to the parking lot below. Usually I didn't think twice about that view. People walking their dogs, neighbors parking their cars, the occasional raccoon digging through the dumpster. But around midnight, something caught my eye. The parking lot. A figure stood below, still, motionless, facing my apartment. Even before I recognized him, my stomach dropped. The blue hoodie, the same man, same stare, aimed directly at me. It felt wrong, predatory, like he wasn't just looking, he was waiting. My blood ran cold. I stood up slowly, trying not to show panic. Then I grabbed the cord and yanked the blind shut, heartbeat pounding in my ears. What the hell? I whispered to myself. I paced, checked the lock on my door, locked it again. I waited 10 minutes, long, tense minutes, before I dared peek out. He was gone, vanished from the lot. That somehow made it worse. I locked everything again, triple-checked it this time. The rest of the night passed quietly. I didn't see him again. Not then, not ever. But that stare, that face leaning into my tent, never left my mind. Every Black Friday since, I think about him. Wonder what he wanted. Wonder why he followed me. Wonder what would have happened if I hadn't woken up. I will never forget the man in the blue hoodie. I never thought that one job I worked in my early 20s would stick with me for the rest of my life. But even now, years later, there are nights when I'm driving home after work and a pair of headlights behind me makes my stomach tighten in the same way it did back then. I was 19 when I started working at Harbor Point Retail, a big box store on the edge of a mid-sized town in Illinois. It was one of those stores where you could buy everything: TVs, bedding, Christmas lights, Even frozen pizza if you were desperate enough. The building sat right off the interstate, open late and always glowing like a cruise ship in the middle of a dark ocean. Back then, I was still figuring myself out. I'd moved out of my mom's place a few months earlier, sharing a small apartment with my coworker and best friend Lena Ruiz, a girl my age who worked in soft lines. Rent wasn't cheap and neither of us had family money, so we grabbed every extra shift we could get. And that's how I ended up working Black Friday. 2 years in a row. The second year, that's when everything happened. That's the night I still think about. Thanksgiving, 5:42 p.m. I remember standing behind register 17, tying my hair up in a ponytail while one of the supervisors, Mr. Kellerman, walked by with 2 energy drinks in hand. "Big night," he said. "You good, Janelle?" "Yeah," I told him. "Just hoping nobody bites me." He laughed. "Don't jinx it." The store was set to open at 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving, which was already controversial. People online hated it, employees hated it, but corporate loved it. And honestly, at 19, getting time and a half sounded pretty great. The overhead speakers crackled. "Attention team members, we open in 15 minutes. Please return to your stations. Thank you." My stomach buzzed a little. The front doors were covered with a temporary metal grate, and behind it I could already see customers lined up. Hundreds of them, some wearing coats and knit hats, some sitting in fold-out chairs, some pacing back and forth like racehorses waiting for the starting bell. Lena walked by the registers, holding a stack of folded hoodies. "You ready?" she asked. "As I'll ever be." She leaned in slightly. "Softlines is already wild, dude. I literally had a lady come up to me 15 minutes ago asking if she could reserve a pair of slippers. Like, girl, what?" I laughed. God bless America. I didn't know then that tonight would take a turn none of us were prepared for. I didn't know that the first weird feeling would come from something as simple as a face in a crowd. I didn't know his face would stay in my memory forever. 6 p.m. The doors open. When the grate rolled up, the crowd surged in like a tidal wave. People weren't walking, they were running. Carts clattered. A kid dropped a bag of chips and someone stepped on it without even noticing. Within minutes, every register light was glowing green. My line filled instantly. A woman came up first with a 55-inch TV. "Hey, hun," she said, breathless. "You guys got any more of these?" "Ma'am, I don't think I can lift this into my cart," I said. "Oh, no worries. My husband's coming." He ran back to get the waffle maker. Chaos everywhere, but familiar chaos. Normal Black Friday energy. Messy, stressful, loud, but predictable. Then around 6:40 p.m., he showed up. A man, maybe mid-30s, short dark hair, neatly combed, pale skin, square glasses with thick black frames, a navy jacket zipped all the way to the collar even though the store was warm. He had this look, not angry, not rushed like everyone else, just calmly observant. His items were basic: batteries, 2 DVDs, a pair of gloves. "Evening," he said. His voice was soft but clipped, like he chose every word carefully. "Evening," I replied. "You guys seem busy." "It's Black Friday," I said with a small smile. "Kinda comes with the job." He nodded but didn't return the smile. His eyes stayed on me the entire time. Not in a flirting way, not in a curious way, in a studying way. He paid. He left. Nothing crazy. But 20 minutes later, he was in my line again, and again an hour after that, and again and again. I started feeling something cold in my stomach. Why does he keep coming back? I whispered to myself. Break room, 9:11 p.m. When my break finally came, I practically jogged to the employee hallway. My feet ached. My throat felt scratchy from talking nonstop. The break room was buzzing with coworkers, all venting about customers, all exhausted before we even hit midnight. Lena sat slumped at a table with a bag of Cheetos. "Dude," she said before I even sat down, "I got harassed." "What?" "This creepy guy. He kept asking me these weird personal questions. Like, do you live close? Do you work nights often? Are you out here alone?" Gross stuff. My heart started pounding. "Wait," I said slowly. "What did he look like?" "Dark hair, glasses, blue jacket, pale, kinda weird posture." I stared at her. "That's the guy who keeps coming through my line." She sat up. "Don't play." "I'm not playing." We exchanged looks that needed no explanation. "Did you report him?" I asked. "Yeah, but it's so crowded, they don't know if he left." A chill climbed my spine. "He's still in here," I murmured. Lena nudged my arm. "Be careful, okay?" "Yeah, you too." When break ended, I walked back out front with a slightly heavier chest. The store felt different now. Same noise, same chaos. But now, every random face looked suspicious. 10:27 p.m. The look I'd switched to register 20. About an hour after break, I glanced up and saw him there, waiting in line, again. But this time his stare wasn't curious or observant. It was knowing, almost like he was waiting for me to acknowledge something. I swallowed hard, my pulse hammered. I lifted my walkie, pretending to adjust something. Can I get a GSTL to register 20? I said into it. He heard me. I knew he did. His expression changed, not angry, but alert, like an animal hearing a twig snap in the woods. He backed out of the line, turned, and walked away fast. By the time the supervisor arrived, he was gone. I explained everything, but there was only so much they could do with a building full of thousands of shoppers and limited staff. For the rest of the night, I kept scanning faces, waiting to see him again. I didn't. Not inside. 3:07 a.m., the parking lot. When I finally clocked out at 3 a.m., my whole body felt like it had been run over by a truck. The store was still packed, music playing, carts moving, people arguing over the last toaster oven. But my shift was over, and I just wanted my bed. The employee parking was far behind the store. The air outside was freezing, my breath turning into little clouds. I hit the unlock button on my key fob and heard the faint chirp. Then headlights appeared behind me. Slow, creeping, following my direction. I stepped aside to let the car pass. It didn't. 5, 6, 7 seconds of it just sitting behind me, idling. I turned, already half knowing. My stomach dropped. It was him. His face dimly lit by the dashboard glow, glasses catching the faint reflection, eyes deadlocked on me. I walked faster, not running, but close. My hands shook so badly that when I reached my car, I hit the wrong button on my keys twice before the door unlocked. I slid in, slammed the door, locked it. He parked 2 spaces away, just sitting there, watching. I texted Lena. "He's in the parking lot, help." No response. She was still on shift. I texted our group chat. "Creepy guy here, won't leave." I didn't know what to do. If I drove off, he'd follow me. If I stayed, then what? Finally, I made a choice. I got out, shut my door, and walked back toward the store. He didn't follow. He just sat, like he was waiting. Inside, I ran into David Whitlock, a huge cart attendant built like a linebacker. He'd worked at Harbor Point for years and basically ran the parking lot single-handedly. "What's wrong?" he asked when he saw my face. "There's a guy waiting for me in his car," I said quickly. "He followed me in earlier. He's been weird all night." David's jaw tightened. "Where is he?" 2 rows back, old beat-up silver sedan. He didn't hesitate. "Let's go." We walked out together. I stayed a little behind him. The man's car was still there. David marched straight to the driver's window and banged on it hard. "Yo," he shouted, "roll the window down." The man froze. His shoulders stiffened. David banged again. "You hear me? Roll it down." That did it. The man jerked forward, slammed the car into drive, and sped off like he'd been shot out of a cannon, tires screeching as he tore out of the lot and onto the road. David stared after him. "Yeah," he muttered. "That's what I thought." "Thank you," I breathed, feeling my knees weaken. "No problem," he said. "People are crazy tonight." I sat in my car for a while afterward, trembling. Every passing pair of headlights made my heart stutter. Finally, when I felt safe enough, I drove home. But for weeks after that night, I checked my rearview mirror constantly. For months, I double-locked my apartment door. Even now, part of me wonders, if I had driven off earlier, would he have followed me? Would I have made it home? Some people say nothing truly scary ever happens on Black Friday, but they're wrong, because the scariest thing isn't the crowds. It's not the chaos. It's not even the fights that break out over TVs. It's the person who's not there for the sales, the person who's there for you, and you don't notice until it's almost too late. I still don't know if that night changed me or just revealed the person I had already become. Thanksgiving night, 2016. I never expected that a normal family gathering would twist itself into a heart-squeezing nightmare, one that still hangs on to me years later. Back then, I was 19, living with my mom and stepdad in a quiet suburb called Milford Ridge, a peaceful tree-lined neighborhood where everyone maintained perfect lawns and where Thanksgiving meant warm lights, pumpkin pies, and that same corny football commentary from whichever old uncle claimed the recliner that year. But that year felt off from the start. Mom had woken me up early, banging pans like she was the drummer for Metallica. "Arlo, get up, people will be here at 4. Yeah, Arlo, that's me. A name I used to think sounded cool until I moved into a neighborhood full of kids who thought it sounded like some old guy who collected stamps. But that day, I didn't care. Thanksgiving meant family, and family meant noise, the warm kind. By late afternoon, the house was fuller than a Walmart electronics aisle on Black Friday. My cousin Jaron, who was just a year older, showed up wearing a jacket 2 sizes too big and smelling like weed he swore wasn't his. "Bro, relax. I'm not high. I'm just festive." "Yeah, is that what we're calling it now?" I shot back. We laughed. We always did. Dinner was loud, messy, perfect. But around 7 p.m., once everyone started slowing down after dessert, Jaron nudged me. "Hey, want to walk down to Oakwell Plaza? I bet it's insane tonight." Oakwell Plaza was only half a mile away. A big shopping strip with a giant Target, a newly remodeled Walmart, Best Buy, Kohl's, everything. Thanksgiving night openings had become the new tradition, and honestly, I always thought it was stupid, but I had never actually gone. Not at night, not on Black Friday. And maybe I just needed to step away from the noise. "Dude, come on, let's just check the crowd. We don't have to buy anything, 5 minutes tops." I sighed. "Fine. But if someone tramples me, you're telling my mom." Jaron smirked. "Bet." We told Mom. She didn't love the idea, but she also knew we weren't kids anymore. "Stay on the sidewalk, don't talk to anyone stupid, and be back soon." If only life worked that simply. Cold air hit like the opening blast of a freezer. November nights in Milford Ridge always did. Streetlights flickered and the hum of traffic from the plaza carried on the wind. But as we approached the shopping strip, we could feel the chaos. Cars everywhere, horns, shouting, sirens in the distance. "Damn, they're really wildin' tonight, huh?" Jaron said. "Looks like it." As we neared the crosswalk, we saw 2 cop cars parked in front of Walmart, lights flashing red, blue, making the ceiling glow like some disco from hell. "Yo, what the hell happened?" I asked. "Probably a fight. People get crazy over toasters for $10. We didn't go closer. Something in my gut said don't. We stopped at Target instead, slightly less chaotic. Inside, people rushed through aisles like they were in some competitive sport. "It smells like sweat and regret in here," Jaron muttered. We walked around, observed, didn't buy anything. Honestly, it was weirdly fun, but we didn't stay long, and that decision probably saved our lives. By the time we started walking home, most of the police cars had left the Walmart entrance, though 2 still remained. "Yeah, something bad definitely went down," I said. "Whatever, dude. Let's bounce. My hands are freezing." We got home around 8:15 p.m. Family still there. Warm light, buzzing conversation, football on TV, everything normal. I remember thinking, it's just another Thanksgiving. It's just another night. But sometimes, normal moments are exactly when life winds up its punch. Around 9 p.m., half the relatives had left. We were in the living room, fireplace crackling, last quarter of the game playing softly. Then Uncle Ray, standing by the window, said, Arlo, there's someone in your backyard." The room froze. Silence. Just the TV humming. Dad and I walked to the window, and we saw him. A man, tallish, early 30s maybe. Dark hoodie pulled low, hiding his face. Backpack slung over one shoulder, walking behind the tree line near our fence. "You know him?" Dad asked. "No," I whispered. He wasn't lost, wasn't drunk, wasn't confused. He was searching for something or someone. Then he slowly turned toward our house, deliberate, purposeful, and disappeared around the corner of the house. Dad frowned. "I'm going out there." "Wait, I'm coming." "No, stay in." "Dad, I'm coming." We stepped out the back door, cold slicing in, dry leaves crunching underfoot. We heard movement at the side of the house. Fast. Panicked. Dad shouted, "Hey, you need to get the hell out. This is private property." But the movement didn't. Turned toward the fence. It moved toward the front of the house, like he wasn't running away, like he wanted to get closer. We followed the sound, but when we reached the front, he was gone, or so we thought. 20 minutes later, just when things started to feel less tense, there was a heavy knock at the front door. Dad opened it to a police officer. "Evening, folks. We're checking houses along this block. There was an incident at Walmart. Did you hear or see anything unusual tonight?" We told him everything about the man. His expression tightened, really tightened. "Can you show me where?" He radioed something in, and within minutes 2 more officers arrived. They split up, one toward the backyard, one along the side of the house. Then, "Got him!" A shout cleaved through the cold night. They found him, not running, not hiding behind the trees, but curled behind one of the bushes against the side of the house, less than 5 feet from the living room wall where we had been sitting. We had been laughing, talking, watching TV, and he was right outside, listening, holding something in his hand, a box cutter. When they hauled him out, he screamed, "I didn't do anything. They jumped me first. I didn't do anything." But the cops knew. We could see it. One officer leaned toward my dad and said quietly, "Sir, this man assaulted a couple shoppers at the Walmart entrance. One's in the hospital. He ditched the first perimeter. We've been tracking him for nearly 40 minutes. Thank God you called." My stomach dropped. He hadn't run through our yard randomly. He chose it. He planned to hide. Maybe he'd break in when we were asleep. Maybe he'd confront whoever took out the trash. Maybe something worse. The thought made my skin crawl. When they walked him to the patrol car, he turned his head just enough that I saw the corner of his mouth twitch, like a smirk, like he knew how close he'd been, like he wanted us to know. That night, even after they took him away, no one slept. Every sound felt threatening. Every shadow felt alive. And even today, whenever I hear the distant roar of Black Friday crowds, something in me goes cold, because I know what can hide in chaos, and what can crawl out of it into the quiet corners of your life. That night didn't just scare me, it changed the way I listened to silence. I still remember the way the cold air smelled that morning, sharp, metallic, and far too quiet for a day that was supposed to be all fun and deals. But before I get into what happened, I think I need to explain why I was even there, why I even cared enough to go out that morning. Because Black Friday wasn't just a shopping day for me, it had become something personal. Growing up, my family didn't have a lot. We weren't broke, but we were constantly juggling bills, always choosing the cheaper cereal, always waiting for the holiday deals, to buy anything, even semi-expensive. My dad worked 2 jobs. My mom picked up whatever shifts she could at the pharmacy. And even then, every year on Thanksgiving night, my parents would sit together at the dining table with all the store ads spread out like battle plans. Black Friday was our holiday. Not Christmas, not Thanksgiving. Black Friday. Those early mornings became our tradition. We'd wake up at 4 a.m., heat leftover pie, bundle up, and drive out to the stores before sunrise. Not to splurge, just to make our money stretch. My mom used to say, "Jace, deals are how poor folks survive." My name is Jace now, but nobody called me that back then. Just Jay or Little Man. After Dad passed when I was 15, that tradition died too. Mom didn't have the energy, and I didn't push it. But in 2007, 6 years later, I tried bringing it back for myself. I was 21, working at a warehouse that paid me barely above minimum wage. I had finally saved enough money to get myself a decent TV and a few games. At least that's what I thought. A treat, a reward, a reminder of better times. So yeah, that's why I ended up at a Black Friday sale that morning. That's why I ended up at Whitman Electronics. Not GameStop, not Circuit City. Whitman Electronics, a small regional chain in the Midwest, and the place where I saw someone lose their mind, and nearly lost my own. I woke up at 4:27 a.m., not because of an alarm, my body just knew. The apartment was dark, cold, the kind of cold where you can see your breath because the heater takes forever to kick in. I rolled out of bed, threw on a hoodie, and heated up a slice of pecan pie. It felt nostalgic, familiar. I grabbed the Whitman Electronics ad I had folded on my kitchen table. Big red letters, Black Friday doorbusters, 1 day only. I didn't even care about doorbusters. I mostly wanted to browse, see what games were on sale, maybe grab a new TV if the price was good. By 5:10 a.m., I was in my car, engine sputtering like it hated me. I drove through streets that were almost empty, just a few cars here and there. The sky still black, the world half asleep. Whitman Electronics sat in a commercial strip on the edge of Rockford, Illinois, near a rundown diner and a laundromat with a flickering sign. I pulled in and immediately saw the crowd, maybe 80 people lined up outside. Damn, I thought, people really don't play around here. I parked far off and walked toward the store. That's when I first noticed him, a tall guy, mid-30s maybe, skinny, long neck, scruffy beard, wearing an oversized army jacket. He stood alone near the end of the line, rocking on his heels, muttering something while staring at the ground. He looked off, eyes darting, hands twitching. Breathing heavy, I brushed it off. Black Friday brings out weird folks. I kept walking. When they finally opened the doors at 6 a.m., it was like the air shifted. People surged inside like they were storming a castle. I moved at my own pace, slow, controlled, careful, because I wasn't trying to get trampled for a $10 discount. Inside, the store felt cramped. Whitman Electronics was small, with narrow aisles and tall shelves. The employees looked exhausted already, wearing Santa hats like corporate soldiers. Christmas music played. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Ironic. I wandered toward the back, where the games were, scanning the shelves. I didn't see anything special, but I grabbed Shadow Strike Nightfall Arena. A used controller. I was reaching for a limited edition game case when the shouting began. It was coming from the front, loud, aggressive. I turned my head and saw the tall guy from outside, the twitchy one, standing at the counter. And behind the counter was the store manager, a stocky man with a short beard and a red Whitman polo. His name tag said Trevor. Trevor was yelling, "Sir, I'm not gonna repeat myself. Step away from the counter." The tall guy slammed something onto the counter, 2 game cases, and barked, "You guys scammed me last time. I want the full refund today, and I want cash. No store credit crap. I ain't playing that game." Trevor snapped back, "We told you last week. No receipt, no cash refund. That's store policy. Don't yell at my employee." Again, the guy leaned in, eyes blazing. "I know my rights, dude. Don't talk to me like I'm stupid." A crowd started forming. Someone behind me muttered, "Here we go." Trevor kept his voice stern but loud. "Step away from my counter, sir, or I'm calling security." The tall guy laughed, high, scratchy, unsettling. "Security? This ain't Best Buy, man. You don't got security." Trevor's jaw clenched. A younger employee, blonde kid, maybe 19, tried to step in. "Sir, please, we're just trying to help." The tall guy snapped around. "Did I talk to you?" The kid flinched. People nearby stepped back. I felt the tension punch the room. Something was wrong about this dude, more than just angry customer energy. It felt like he wasn't fully there, like he was balancing on a mental edge. Trevor pointed toward the door. "Sir, you need to leave, now." The tall man didn't move. For 3 long seconds, nobody moved. Then suddenly, slam! He kicked the counter. A loud bang echoed. People gasped. Someone yelled, "Whoa, chill!" Trevor stepped forward, voice booming. "Get out of my store." The tall guy finally stepped back, breathing hard, staring at Trevor like he wanted to carve his name into him. Then he said it, loud, clear. "I'll be back." And he stormed out, pushing past people, nearly knocking over a display. The automatic door slammed shut behind him. For 15 seconds, the whole store was silent. Then everything resumed, slowly, awkwardly. But I couldn't shake the feeling in my gut. Something about the way he said it. Something about the way he moved. It didn't feel like a bluff. I tried to keep shopping. I really did. But every time someone walked past the front windows, every time the door opened, my pulse jumped. "Jace, relax," I whispered to myself. I grabbed another game, checked out the headphones on sale, wandered the store. People were still buzzing about the guy. I heard words like crazy, psycho, unstable. By the time I got in line, my anxiety had ebbed slightly, replaced with the exhaustion of standing for so long. I finally paid, bagged my stuff, and headed toward the exit. Just as I grabbed the handle, I saw him, walking across the parking lot, slow, steady, purposeful, and in his right hand, I didn't see it clearly at first, then the overhead light caught it, a hatchet, a real one, sharp, steel, held tight like he'd been gripping it the whole walk. My stomach dropped. I stepped back immediately. The man reached the door, staring straight through the glass like he was looking at prey behind an aquarium. Then, crack! He swung the hatchet into the door. Glass fractured like a spider web. People screamed behind me. Crack, crack, crack. He hit it again and again. The door shattered outward, pieces raining onto the floor. I froze, my legs locked. Terror felt like ice filling my chest. The man stepped forward, yelling, "You think you can play with me? You think I'm a joke?" Trevor shouted from across the store. "Everyone back, call 911. A woman near me screamed, "He's got an axe." A guy shouted, "Dude, what the, bro, run." The tall man lifted the hatchet again. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a display of headphones. He smashed a second window before raising the hatchet toward the crowd, not swinging yet, but ready. He was breathing like an animal, eyes wild, sweat dripping down his forehead. 2 customers grabbed a shopping cart and shoved it between him and the crowd. He swung at it. Metal clanged, sparks flew. Trevor yelled, "Sir, put it down, police are on the way." The man screamed, "Good, let him come, let everyone come." He kicked the broken glass, stepped forward, and then abruptly stopped, looked around, his face changed, not calmer, but like he suddenly realized there were too many witnesses, too many eyes. He muttered something, couldn't hear it over the chaos, and then he turned, just turned, and walked away. Slow at first, then faster, then disappeared into the shadows of the parking lot. Everyone stood frozen, waiting for him to return again. But he didn't. Not then. Someone locked the broken door as best as they could. Customers huddled inside like refugees. The police arrived within minutes. 4 squad cars pulling up with lights flashing. Officers rushed in, weapons drawn, shouting commands and securing the scene. They ushered everyone toward the back of the store. Some people were crying, some shaking, some angry. Trevor looked pale, haunted. An officer approached him. "Sir, do you know the suspect?" Trevor nodded weakly. Yeah, I know him. He's been in here before. Always angry about trade-ins, always yelling, but never like this," the officer asked. "Any threats previously?" Trevor swallowed. "He said he'd come back for us last week too, but we didn't take it seriously. He always threatens stuff." I stepped closer, still trembling. The officer glanced at me. "Sir, you okay?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, He almost hit the door while I was walking out." The officer asked for my statement, which I gave, hands shaking, voice uneven. They eventually told everyone, "He's been located, he's in custody." A wave of relief hit the room, but it didn't erase the fear. Whitman Electronics closed immediately. They stayed closed for 9 days. And I don't think I'll ever forget the sound of that first swing, the crack of glass breaking inches from where I stood. Weeks later, after everything had settled, I heard through someone who knew Trevor that the tall man had been struggling with serious mental health issues for years. He lived alone, no family, no support. And the refund he was demanding wasn't about the money. It was about control, about feeling powerless in a world that kept kicking him. And while nothing excuses what he did, I can't shake the image of his face, not the rage, not the violence, but that brief moment right before he walked away where he looked lost, like he didn't even know why he'd done it, like he wasn't fully inside his own body. Sometimes I replay the scene and imagine if I had walked out 5 seconds earlier, if he had swung a little higher, if the cart hadn't been pushed in front of him. It feels like I survived something I wasn't supposed to. And every Black Friday since then, I stay home, because I know now, it's not the crowds you need to fear. It's the one person in the crowd who snaps. I never thought a simple Black Friday run, something I'd been doing since I was a kid, would end up becoming the scariest night of my life. Even now, years later, whenever I walk past a big retail store, I still get that small chill down my spine. Not because of the crowds, not because of the chaos, but because of one man. And the moment I realized I should have never trusted a smile and a red shirt. Growing up, Black Friday was a bonding thing between me and my mom. Her name was Lucinda, and she was the kind of person who could laugh her way through anything. Traffic, long lines, even rude shoppers. We'd wake up at ridiculous hours, grab gas station hot chocolate, and hit the stores like it was some kind of sport. As I got older, life got busier. Work, bills, random adult chaos. But every single year, even after moving out, we kept the tradition alive. Thanksgiving dinner, short nap, midnight madness. But everything changed. The year stores started opening on Thanksgiving evening instead of midnight. My mom hated it. "Let people be with their families, for God's sake," she'd say every year. So we didn't go. For almost 4 years straight, no Thanksgiving night shopping, only Friday morning. But that one year, the year everything happened, I broke the rule. My mom's birthday was coming up in December, and I wanted to get her something meaningful. Not a candle, not a sweater, something personal. She always loved photography, but her camera was ancient. So I planned to buy her a brand new Canon mirrorless camera that was on a massive Black Friday deal. Only problem, those deals wouldn't last until Friday morning. So on that Thanksgiving night, around 5:45 p.m., after we'd all finished dinner, I told my mom, "Hey, I'm gonna head out real quick. Just want to check something at Ridgeview Mall." She gave me that mom look, half suspicious, half concerned. "At this hour, baby, the doors will open and there'll be a stampede of lunatics. Just wait till morning." I'll be fine. It's not like I'm fighting anybody, I said with a laugh. She sighed. All right, just text me. Little did I know, that would be the last time I felt safe for the next several hours. I pulled into Harborgate Superstore, a big Target-like chain on the East Coast. It was already open, and honestly, I expected chaos, but not what I saw. The parking lot was jam-packed like a rock concert. Cars squeezing into illegal spots, people honking, folks yelling, "Bro, that's my space. Move your damn SUV." A couple shoved past me with their cart before I even got out of my car. I remember muttering, "Damn, okay, this is gonna be nuts." But I brushed it off and headed inside. The instant those sliding doors opened, I stepped into what felt like a human tidal wave. It was unreal. People were shoulder to shoulder, pushing, yelling, grabbing anything with a yellow sale sticker. A guy holding his toddler yelled for his wife. A group of teenagers shoved through the crowd laughing like it was a game. Someone bumped into me so hard my phone almost slipped. "Yo, watch it," a woman snapped, even though she walked into me. I kept my cool and just tried to weave through the crowd toward electronics. It was slow, so slow. You didn't walk, you drifted, like a raft being pulled by a current. I whispered under my breath, "Man, should have come tomorrow." But I kept going, because the camera was all I cared about. When I finally reached the electronics section, after what felt like 20 minutes, there was no room to breathe. People were reaching over each other, grabbing TVs, monitors, phones. But what caught my attention wasn't the shoppers. It was a guy in a red employee shirt watching people. Not helping, just watching. He wasn't stocking shelves. He wasn't answering questions. He wasn't even standing near the registers. He was leaning against a shelf with his hands in his pockets, scanning the crowd like he was looking for someone specific. His uniform looked off, like it was one size too big, cheap, almost like a Halloween version of the real thing. I only looked at him for a moment, but something inside me whispered, "He's not working." But I pushed the thought aside. People do seasonal hires. Maybe he just didn't care about the job. I went back to looking for the camera. After a few minutes of searching, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned, and standing there was a different guy. Mid-30s, buzz cut, slightly tired eyes, red polo shirt, name tag that read, Trey. He smiled politely. "Hey there, need help finding something?" I nodded. "Yeah, I'm looking for the Canon EOS M50. I think you guys had like a few doorbusters?" He leaned closer, cupping his ear. "Sorry, can barely hear anything in here. What was it? A C camera?" "Yeah, mirrorless one." "Oh, we might have a couple in the back," he said. "Follow me. Easier to talk there." Nothing felt weird in that moment. Employees take people to the back sometimes during madness. So I followed. We walked along the side wall of the store, away from the mob. The farther we got, the quieter it became. I could hear my own footsteps again. Trey pushed through a pair of swinging gray doors marked "Employees Only." He looked over his shoulder. "Come on, it's fine. Too loud out there." I hesitated for a second, but he waved, and I followed. The change was instant, from chaos to silence. The back room was industrial. Concrete floors, tall shelves stacked with unopened boxes, handheld radios charging on a wall, fluorescent lights buzzing softly. Trey exhaled deeply. God, I needed a break from that crowd. You'd think they were giving stuff away for free. I laughed politely. "Yeah, it's insane out there. Camera, right?" he said, starting down a narrow aisle. "Yeah." I followed behind him. We turned into a back aisle near a locked steel door that led outside to the loading zone. Boxes were stacked everywhere. Holiday stock, toys, electronics. Trey slowed down. Then he pulled out his phone. He held it near his face and whispered something into it. Too quiet for me to hear. Then he glanced toward the door, then back at me, then at his phone again. Something in my chest tightened. That's weird. He started scrolling on his phone, not moving, not looking for any camera, just waiting. I asked, "Hey, is the camera down here somewhere?" He didn't answer at first. Then he said quietly, "Yeah, just hang on a sec." His tone had changed completely. No friendliness, no smile, just cold. My stomach dropped. Something wasn't right. I took a half step back. Then, footsteps echoed behind us. Another voice called out, Hey, who are you? What are you doing back here?" I turned fast and saw a woman in a real Harbor Gate uniform. Proper badge, headset, branded vest, walking toward us with a confused expression. She looked at me first, then at Trey. Her eyes narrowed. "Do you work here?" she asked him sharply. Trey didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed the door handle, shoved it open, and sprinted outside. I only saw a flash of movement, a dark sedan waiting with the back door open. He jumped in. The car peeled out so fast the tires screeched across the loading zone concrete. The door swung shut behind him. I stood there frozen. The woman looked at me, breathless. "Did he? Were you with him? What did he tell you?" I stammered. "He said he was helping me. He said he worked here." She shook her head quickly, face pale. "That guy does not work here. His shirt's the wrong color, and we don't even have name tags like that. I saw him walking toward the back with you. That's why I came." My legs felt weak. The realization hit me like a punch. He wasn't taking me to find a camera. He was taking me to that exit, to that waiting car. And he was on the phone earlier, coordinating. I felt my throat tighten. "Oh my God," I whispered. "He was gonna take me." The woman gently touched my arm. "You're okay. You're safe now. Come on, let's get back out front." I followed her, still shaking. The noise of the store hit me again as we pushed through the double doors. But this time, the chaos didn't bother me, because I knew the real danger had been in the quiet. I left immediately. Could barely feel my hands while driving home. When I walked into the house, my mom took one look at me and said, "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" I broke down, told her everything. She hugged me tighter than she had in years. Thank God you're okay." Later that night, I kept realizing things I hadn't in the moment. He stood near the electronics section watching people. He waited for someone alone. He took me to the back exit, not the storage area. He whispered into his phone right before reaching the door. And a car was already waiting. It wasn't random. It wasn't spur of the moment. It was planned. And I was almost the one they took. I never went Black Friday shopping again. And I never will. Not because of crowds. Not because of sales. But because once, on a night meant for deals, I came face to face with something far darker than holiday madness.